Chapter 5. Lai Fang's Diary. New York training at the Institute for Cadre Management was hard, but somehow I had already known that it would be. First thing in the morning, there were a few hours of physical exercise. After that, studying began. They taught us about Chinese history, Taoism, basic military strategies. In the evening, we had a few hours of psychic training. Looking back, I can say that I didn't have much of a childhood between helping out with my parents' business and my time at the academy. Between classes, I often saw your mother. She'd sit in one of the big halls, sharpening her psychic abilities, or next to the little fish pond, reading or staring at the pond's surface, on which the surrounding branches reflected. She'd keep her hair in a bun and didn't speak much with other people. She was one of very few girls who attended the academy as far as I could see. One day, when I was passing by the pond, I saw her kneeling in the grass, with a concentrated look on her face. A strange shape was hovering above her. I couldn't help but come closer. The shape seemed to be made of a strange, bluish-white substance, but at the same time, it looked strangely solid. It was round and stocky, with what seemed like discs inserted in between. Only at a second glance did I recognize the Temple of Heaven in Beijing. What the heck is that? I must have said it out loud because the girl turned around abruptly. She winced, and the small cloud building above her head disappeared. "Do you mind?" she said. She still looked more frightened than angry. "Sorry for interrupting you." "What was that?" "It was beautiful," I said. She regarded me inquiringly and said, "I'm not supposed to tell. Especially not beginners like you. It's a secret. You don't have to tell me what it is. Just tell me how you did it," I asked her. I suddenly remembered that I had seen a cloud building like this before, back in Chongqing, up in the sky. Her eyes, which looked wise beyond her years, fixed upon me again, and she said, "Okay, but don't tell anyone, and I'll be able to tell if you did. I'm in mind reading level 2B already." "I promise," I said. The girl, your mother, looked at the pond. "The Academy is researching a substance that can be altered by the power of our thoughts. I can't tell you the name, but it's going to be very important for China," she said. "You mean that you shaped this palace just with your thoughts? Like you moved the blossoms into the glasses?" I asked. "So, you've been watching me?" the girl asked and smirked. I didn't say anything, feeling embarrassed. "Basically, yes," she continued. "It's the same process. This is just harder to do. This substance is fleeting, and if you don't focus properly, it will evaporate. They just gave me a vial of it so I could experiment." She held up a small vessel. I felt even worse for disturbing her, but also unusually cocky. "Sorry I interrupted you. Can I make it up to you somehow? Buy you a steamed bun?" I asked. She turned away, and my heart sank. Then she began to smile, but still looked straight ahead at the pond. "Tomorrow at noon, at the pagoda," she said.
My grandma had written another email. She had finally been evicted from her house in the historical town center, Shibati, and been forced to move into one of the new apartment buildings in the vast hinterland of Chongqing. Until the last moments, she had resisted the resettlement, clinging to her old wooden house like the roots of the scrawny tree in front of her windows clung to the stone steps. There was nothing left for that tree. No grass and no moss to flourish in. First, the plants were deprived of their livelihood, then the humans. My grandma had to relocate all her stuff, the chaos she thrived in, to a storage space far from her new apartment. Now she had nothing left that reminded her of the past. Her new apartment, approximately 30 square meters, not even enough to harbor her collection of plastic flamingos, was situated at the end of one of the city's monorail lines on the 12th floor of an apartment block. My grandma had seldom been this close to Chongqing's sky, but what was the use of that if all you could see was a layer of cement-colored clouds and smoke? There was no evidence of a higher dimension trickling through, and with almost all her stuff gone, she couldn't even honor the household gods with totems anymore. Luckily, her former neighbor had been relocated to an apartment close to hers. With her help, she was able to continue staying in contact with me via email. As she had come to trust me, her emails had gotten longer, and when I brought up the subject of her son, she started to talk more about him. There had been one time a few years ago, she wrote to me, when he had come to her house all upset and agitated. He had hardly been able to sit down, had roamed around the house and complained about the mess. "You and your chaos," he had said, "is what has driven me out of this house in the first place. People disappear among your things, you know, and you don't even try to retrieve them." It was true. Not once had my grandma tried to reach out to my father after he had left Chongqing for the academy in Suzhou. She had feared that this would only trigger his homesickness, and she did not want him to turn down the opportunity of a lifetime. She wanted him to have a better life, 不是人间烟火, to not inhale the smoke of Chongqing's common people. It was only after he had graduated that the two saw each other again. Back then, he had not blamed her for not contacting him anymore, being already too engrossed in the beginnings of his career in the Secret Service. My phone blinked. It was a message from Suresh. "Let's go out tonight. There is a famous Indian sitar player in town. I thought we could go, to give you some impression of authentic Indian music," he wrote. Suresh had been relatively quiet for the last couple of days. Maybe he wanted to give me some space to think about my LSD experience. Space-time, as Einstein might have said. The little bottle was now sitting unsuspiciously in my bathroom cabinet, behind the mirror that had distorted my face last time. When he rang my doorbell, I had already taken my dose. I felt as if I had lived the full life of a star in the sky. The hazy nebula of my consciousness had formed into an orb with sharp contours only to vaporize into another nebula with a more wholesome arabesque structure. "Your eyes look like black bowling balls. That's a good sign," Suresh said and grinned. "Oh, now you've got your smile again. That wise smile that assures the teachers that you've been a very good boy but freaks out everyone else in class," I said. "Cheeky today, are we, madam?" Suresh said, hauled me in to give me one of his forceful hugs and whispered something close to my ear. "What did you say?" I asked. Now and then I had a hard time understanding him. "Oh, nothing. Just that we should get going soon," he said. "Oh, sure, just let me get my coat," I said. Suresh glanced me up and down and said, "Mademoiselle, you're already wearing your coat. A very nice one, I have to say." Only then did I feel the heaviness of the coat fabric on my shoulders. "Gosh, you're right," I laughed, almost hysterically. "Do you have everything else you need?" he asked. "Well, I'm not sure," I laughed again. "How much did you take?" he asked. "Not much," I said, and lifted my bag. "Silly. I mean LSD. How much LSD did you take?" he asked. "Oh, about half of what I took last time, like you recommended," I said. "Then you should be good. We'll listen to the concert and then go straight back home so that you can come down and maybe you'll see something again," he said. "All right, Daddy," I said cheekily. "Why don't you take any?" "Silly. You need someone to look after you, remember?" he said and playfully patted my head. "Oh yeah, that's right," I said. The tops of the trees along the road, neatly arranged into their little quadrants, had adopted a green glow that reminded me of Christmas time. Behind the rows of houses, the Brooklyn Bridge towered like the middle part of a giant ocean liner. I looked around me. I feel like I finally get these buildings. It's like, before, I lived next to them. Now I live with them, I said. "I think I get what you say," Suresh said. He didn't look at me. The green flickering of the trees made reality seem very brittle suddenly, as if it was some sort of alternating current that kept everything alive, constantly being turned on and off. At the same time, I realized that my own body was kind of tied into that power grid, like a train connected to a wire on top of it. I had no choice but to move along with the strange unfolding of things. Checking in," Suresh said and snapped his fingers in front of my face. "Everything okay at your end?" he asked. "What do you mean by end? I'm in the middle of it," I said. Okay, everything all right in your middle? He asked. Yeah, I feel very wrapped up in this world, like a present. Wrapped up in the present. I wish you could be here with me, I said and almost did a pirouette. I know. I can join you next time, when we're inside, Suresh said. We had arrived at the underground station. I giggled. So, you've planned a whole future of trips for us? I asked. Well, at least a few more. Until you begin to remember some things, he said. The station was a lot to take in. The single columns seemed very far from each other. I couldn't even begin to imagine what was past the next one. Suresh took my hand and slowly led me along the platform. Endless amounts of time seemed to go by until we reached the middle of the platform. I feel like an old woman who's not making any headway, I said. Don't worry, you're walking at a perfectly normal pace. It's interesting to see how you perceive time, though, he said. While he was talking, Suresh became a bit blurry. Yeah, I'm reaching the point where all clocks have become obsolete to me. It's like, there is my time and then there is everybody else's time, I said. Although I was in such a state, I was still able to express my insights surprisingly precisely. Well, I'm sorry that we bother you with our everyday time, mademoiselle, Suresh said. Now he was probably grinning again, but his face seemed too far up for me to see. Ah, no, it's not like that. It's more like a friendly coexistence, but it does feel as if we're not on the same plane, I said. I tried to look around me, but everything blurred in front of my eyes, so I immediately stopped. Maybe there was a special plane of existence where all people who were on psychedelics could meet. The venue was packed tightly with the usual alternative New York crowd. Girls with big glasses and scarves and hipsters with check shirts and baseball caps, a style with which they wanted to accentuate the eclecticism of their millennial taste. Suresh paid for the tickets and we took seats somewhere in the rear third. The stage was already bustling with people, running to and fro to fix microphones and plug in gears. Amidst all of the bustle, there sat a peaceful, bearded Indian man with a long, glimmering sitar. Suresh leaned over to me. You wouldn't believe how many different elements this instrument has. With every other Indian instrument, you can mostly just sit and play. But with the sitar, you really have to sit down with it and give it your attention before you play it. One of my cousins is a sitar player, so I know some things. The way the musician patiently turned the screws on his instrument centered me and calmed down my synapses. Did you never want to learn this? I asked. I fear that I don't have one musical bone in my body. My parents wanted me to learn the tabla, though. Had Suresh just rolled his eyes a bit? What's that? I asked. Well, if I tell you, will you promise not to laugh at me? Suresh folded his arms. I don't know if I can promise you anything in this state. Or maybe everything. My thoughts began to drift away again, and there was nothing I could do to resist the pull of the waves. Right. Well, tablas are these little drums that sometimes sound like a plunger. I won't try to imitate the sound, not even for you, he said. I could hardly hold back my giggles. I think I heard those in some Indian restaurant a while ago. Almost spit out my lassi. Suresh smiled, a little pained. Yeah, I know my Chinese princess couldn't be bothered with that, so I deliberately chose an event where this ridiculous instrument would not be present. It can sound rather elegant in combination with other instruments. The foolish takes on a certain charm if you bring it into context with other things. Just like me. I looked at him and wanted to answer him back, but right at this moment, the musician began to strike his sitar, eliciting the first mesmerizing tones. The scale went through my whole body and made me automatically turn to face the stage. He's beginning with what is called a raga, a series of chords which he will improvise on, Suresh said. While the musician was getting into his groove, all my surroundings, all the people, started to fade away completely until there was nothing left but the shimmering strings of the instrument and his hands which steadily slid over the chords. After a few minutes, the other band members inconspicuously came onto the stage and tuned in to the raga, but without overpowering the sitar. Its high tones were flying above the rest, like a majestic phoenix that was gliding over the primitive lands below. Gradually, all the people around me melted into a field of mushrooms that nodded their little heads in time to the music. The curtain behind the musicians began to move and looked like it was just about to open and disclose the secrets of the universe. The other day, I had a meeting with my memory loss support group. As soon as I arrived, I was anxious for it to be over. The little sleep I had had been superficial and interspersed with electric jolts, and I still was not back on an even plane of existence. An old woman was going on and on about how she thought she had lost her cat until she discovered that had happened in a novel she had read. Meanwhile, her cat had indeed run away for want of food. I had heard that sometimes such a false memory fragment replaced another more important one. Often, people who were said to have been abducted by aliens remembered something totally different instead, like being attacked by a giant owl. After the meeting, I went for a coffee with Izzy as always. Izzy let her gaze slide over my face. "Can I say you look like shit today?" she said. "Thank you very much. I didn't really sleep well last night," I said. "Is he that exhausting, your new boyfriend?" She frivolously raised one brow. "It's more like the new, therapy I'm trying is quite demanding," I said. "You've got a new therapist? What was wrong with the old one?" "I thought hypnotherapy is already as deep as you can go into the psyche," Izzy said. She took sips of her coffee, while I left mine untouched. "That's what I had thought too, but it turns out there's a whole other layer behind what we think are the depths of our soul," I said. "You're speaking in riddles," Izzy said, not letting go of her cup. "Yeah, I guess that's the only way I know how to speak about it," I said and looked at Izzy's face. Could I trust her? I had actually felt comfortable in her presence from the beginning of the therapy. "Okay, so it has to do with certain substances," I said. "Drugs? What kind? Cocaine? God, we regularly have passengers who try to smuggle this on our planes. It's so gross. Last time someone tried to hide it inside of lamb chops. They were already half defrosted when the security guys found them," she said. "No, more like psychedelics. LSD, I said. "You're aware that this stuff makes people want to jump out of windows." "And you're already living on the 13th floor, Izzy said. "First of all, I've told you already that 13 is considered a lucky number in Chinese culture," I said. "Second, you have to be really unstable to consider jumping out of the window. I've already tried this stuff twice, and I can assure you, twice already. Where did you even get this from?" Izzy said, seeming alarmed. "Suresh got it from a friend. You see, it can really jog your memory," I said. The way I described it, it sounded like some superfood. "Oh, I should have known that this guy is up to no good," Izzy said, looked at her fingernails and scratched away a little dirt from underneath one of them. "Well, it actually made me remember something," I said. "Really?" "What?" Izzy asked and looked up. "An accident I had years ago. I think it might have been the cause for my memory loss," I said. "Oh, wow. Are you sure that this wasn't only a product of your imagination?" she asked. I hesitated. That's what I keep thinking about, but I feel that I'm onto something here. "I just need to do a few more sessions," I said. The trip the night before hadn't brought up anything new. After we had come home from the concert, I had tried to sink into myself, but I kept having auditory hallucinations that sounded like electronic versions of everyday sounds, like pulling a duct tape. "A few more sessions? Girl, please be careful," Izzy said. She had put the cup down. "I am. Suresh is taking care of me. If I don't understand my past, how can I know which way to go from here? I have no clue what I'm good at, what my interests were before I lost my memories. The only things I can remember go way back into my childhood, and you can't build a career on some vague notions about fortune-telling and feng shui," I said. Izzy laughed. "You can, though. Look at all the astrology people on YouTube," she said. I sipped on my coffee. "Look, I can assure you that this thing really helps me. Who knows, soon, I might not need the support group anymore," I said. Dreamily, I stared through the window where the sun was just breaking through clouds being reflected by the windows opposite.